The universe is a beast. The body is made from tiny stuff, from near-nothings, from atoms swimming through a blood of crackling sparks. Simple, eternal laws shape the beast. The largest galaxy is ruled by principles of mass and motion. Electrons are slave to charge and to chance, and this is why the universe feels inexhaustible, eternal. No sun complains about its death. Life is the problem. Life can be woven from flesh or circuit or thoughtful light. Origins don't matter. But small, half-smart creatures have a fierce talent for denying the inevitable, for balking and complaining about injustices that don't exist, and consequences that should be borne in silence. Hey there, my name is Alex, or Mont, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the lore behind Destiny. In this first episode we'll be covering the first major enemy faction encountered during the game, the Fallen, and in the future, perhaps we'll talk about the other major enemies, the Hive, the Vex, and the Cabal. This video will be speculation and theory crafting, backed up where possible with in-game information and grimoire cards, and of course, if you have your own ideas or theories on the Fallen, please do share them in the comments below. But let's get started, shall we? Who are the Fallen? When I first played Destiny, the game mentioned the darkness and then the Fallen, which gave me assumptions they were some sort of undead creatures. Turns out that wasn't the case. So who are they, and why are they called the Fallen? The Fallen are an old alien race, their most obvious feature being their distinctive 4 arms. Their name, Fallen, does not refer to what I had first assumed, but rather that they have, in essence, fallen from grace. And we will talk more on the implications that could have a little later. First up, let's talk about the members of the Fallen. The Dregs, Vandals, Captains and their machine allies. The Dregs are quite literally the dregs of Fallen society. They are robbed of their lower set of arms in a ritual of humiliation and obedience, and exist only to prove their worth in the hopes of one day regrowing their limbs as they climb back up the ranks. And then we have the Vandals, the experienced troops of the Fallen crews. Like the Captains, they are possessed of both sets of arms, and the Captains themselves are presumably the oldest and strongest, who lead their crews with iron fists. Along with them, we have Shanks and Servitors, relic from a time long past. Servitors are incredibly important to the Fallen, for they create ether, and ether is vital to the Fallen. They depend on it for life. Presumably it is their sustenance, or food if you prefer. Captains get the largest share, and Dregs the least. Servitors create ether from matter and energy, and without them, the Fallen would be in rather a lot of trouble. Now, above even the Captains, we have the Archon Priests and Prime Servitors. All Servitors are attached to a Prime, which are essentially giant Servitors, and Prime Servitors seem to have a symbiotic relationship with Archon Priests, though the exact details of that relationship are not currently known. What do the Priests possibly have to offer the Prime? Either way, the Archon Priests directly convey the demands and orders to the Servitors. There is other information that seems to contradict that. Information that seems to imply that perhaps it is the Servitors who are in charge, and the Archon Priests merely enact their will. Either way, the Fallen have a dependence on their machines as they roam through space. Unlike other enemies, the Fallen are not unified. They are divided into several houses. The House of Devils, the House of Exile, the House of Winter, the House of Wolves, and the House of Kings. And perhaps there are other houses that we don't even know of yet. Either way, each house is led by a Kell, a sort of super captain, if you want to put it simply. And whilst all of the houses might seem to have different endgames, they all, by and large, are space pirates. They roam about scavenging tech and weapons, resources of all sorts. The House of Devils are both the first enemies we encounter and the most infamous of all fallen houses amongst those inhabitants of the city. They led the battle at the Twilight Gap, a famous battle wherein several fallen houses joined forces to attack the last human city on Earth. Despite their eventual defeat at the hands of Lord Shaxx, a titan who has since gone on to oversee the training of new guardians in the form of the Crucible, Destiny's PvP system, the Fallen remain, and as Commander Zavala puts it, the Fallen will continue to claw at the walls of our city. Although as of right now, it appears that the Guardians of Destiny have crippled the House of Devils by destroying their prime servitor, Sepix Prime. The House of Exile appears to be a new house, and a small one at that. They are primarily found on the moon, and something has inspired them enough to live amongst and near the Hive, clashing with those dreadful enemies in their search for something beneath the surface of the moon. Most likely they have fallen who were cast out from other houses, or left of their own accord. Hence the name, Exile. And whilst you might think a house so new wouldn't pose much of a threat, the fact that they are relatively weak and desperate could make them even more of a danger. The House of Winter are typically found on Venus, searching for something in the caves and ruins of the Ishtar Sink. This can lead them to clash with others present on Venus, but not so much with the Vex. Although the Cabal and the Vex are viciously at war with each other, the Fallen and the Vex do not seem to be so aggressive towards one another. But are you starting to notice a pattern? The House of Devils are searching for something beneath the Cosmodrome on Earth. The House of Exile appears to be searching for something the Hive possess. And the House of Winter too are searching. Whether one house or another, they are all searching and scavenging for some advantage. There is also the House of Wolves and the House of Kings, the latter of which we presently know very little about. Maybe that will change in the future. The Archon priest Axor seems like he could have once been a member of the House of Kings, although the grimoire states that he was captured by the Queen during her war with the House of Wolves. The Queen of the Awoken in the Reef slew the Kell of the House of Wolves, and now thinks to lead that house herself, although it appears her leadership is not all that secure. So hopefully now we all know a little more about our favourite four-armed friends. But does anything about their backstory seem odd to you? They worship giant machines. Giant spherical machines. What is it that's floating above the city? A race that was once far more powerful than it is now, clinging to remnants of its past glory. That sentence describes both the Fallen and humanity. We depend on our ghosts as the Fallen depend on their servitors. Or so it seems to me. And then there's this grimoire to consider. Saint 14 argues that the darkness was an invading armada, an alien force of incredible but tangible power. Some adherents believe that this armada sprang from species rejected or discarded by the Traveller for their sins. That last line is the relevant one. Species rejected or discarded by the Traveller for their sins. What do you think? Were the Fallen once like us? Did they find the Traveller and have their civilization advance rapidly due to it, only to have it abandon them for some reason? And what reason could that be? I'm sure you've entertained the notion that the Traveller is not exactly good, or is in some way responsible for the darkness as it is the light. But what do you think about the Fallen, their past, their present, and what they might be searching for in the future? And what do you think of the video itself? Was it entertaining or insightful in any way? Would you like to see more? I hope so. It's been kind of fun making this, but either way, do let me know, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, ciao.